Hello, happy Wednesday. I am your host, Larissa Vakulina, and I go live every Wednesday at 2 p.m. South Australian time. And this is the Heart of Success show where I'm sharing with you tools, tips, methods, experiences, and different recommendations of people who are actually worked it out how to be successful not only in business or professional life but also in all areas of our lives. Today I have very exciting show because I have a very special guest with me here today, Scotty Z. He is an amazing manifestor. He is a person that is really caught my attention because we have a little bit of in common. So yeah, like Scotty, I would like to really, put light on you and ask you, can you share with us, because the show, the name of the show is Heart's Call. It's like what we long for and what our hearts are really up to, and it's like you are the best representation of how a person is following the heart's longing and heart's call. So I would like to just maybe if you introduce yourself and tell a little bit more about you and where you are and how did you follow your heart. And you seems really got that when many people are trying to work it out, but you really got it.
I love the mission that you're on, Larissa. And hello, everybody. Yep, nice to meet you. Great to be here. And I love the mission that you're on, Larissa, to help people to follow our hearts, to have success in all areas of life. And this is exactly the mission that I've been on my whole life, to live that in my own life. I realized at 19 years old, I left university and I had some really hard times with police and my father, and some really difficult 2-year period from 17 to 19. And at 19, I left university. I did a year and a half of uni and got into sales. I just stumbled my way into sales. And within several months, within 6 months, I was like a 6-figure earner and just very good at sales. So great with people. I was always a leader, very good at sales. And I realized at 19, like, man, I can make a lot of money. I bought a nice car. And I had this thing, I can be a millionaire. Wow, I can be a millionaire. This is amazing. Yet the same time I was going through court, and the same time I had pending charges over me from breaking into cars. I was getting drunk on the weekends and breaking into cars.
Wow.
And, it was full on rebel. But the year before that, I was school captain, head of the student representative committee, head of rituals and ceremonies, like this posh school. Oh, there we go. So,
I want to actually show you, and that's why I'm trying here to have different layouts.
Oh, yeah, bring me up. Yeah, that's all right. You figure it out. I went through this crazy period from being like on top of the world, literally giving the victory speech at the end of the hello, that's me full screen, at the end of the school year, and then within 18 months I had just crashed and burned. My whole life had crashed and burned. And again, I got 16 charges. It took 13 months to go through court. I was studying biotechnology and microbiology at university, so very intelligent, natural leader, got into sales on the side, was miserable at uni, didn't know what I was doing with my life, stumbled into sales, realized I could make a lot of money, still absolutely miserable, and then finally got sentenced. I got 16 criminal convictions when I was 19.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was a full-on story. Mate, this is the beginning of it. I'm 41. Like the next 20 years is where it gets interesting. But that was the start of it. That was the start of it. And after the hammer fell, I got 16 no recorded convictions. I didn't get prison time. I got 150 hours community service and some reparations. But as I'm leaving the courtroom, the guy that physically caught me and my friend 13 months earlier, car chase, rammed our car, like we were trying to break into his car. Anyway, story of stories. He didn't like that I got off, that me and this fella got off. And he decided that he was going to take the law into his own hands, and he tried to kill me. He threatened to kill me, threatened to kill my little sister. We then went and got a restraining order put against him. He broke the restraining order and literally woke up that morning to a phone call saying the police just visited me. You'll be dead by this afternoon.
Oh my
And my
God.
dad, who at this stage, me and my dad 2 years earlier had a fist fight. We just didn't see eye to eye. But this brought us together at least. My dad put me in the back of the car under a blanket in the garage, drove me to the airport where he worked, walked me, this is 20 years ago, you could do this back then, scans in, calls ahead, walks me onto the plane, sits me down and says, good luck, and sent me from Brisbane back to Cairns, where I grew up, to go and live with my auntie and uncle.
Mhm.
And that day was the 21st of January. Oh, no, excuse me, 25th of January, 2001. So it was 21 years ago.
Wow.
That was the day that changed my life. I arrived in Cairns. I borrowed my auntie and uncle's car. I drove to this lookout that looks over Cairns at the top of a mountain overlooking the Bay of Cairns. And I cried for like 2 hours. I was like, what the far out just happened to my life?
Wow.
2 years ago, I was on top of the world, you know, school captain, everyone loves me, yada, yada, going to uni, got a good OP, yada, yada. 2 years later, I've got 16 criminal convictions, including an assault conviction. Me and my dad have had a fist fight. We don't see eye to eye. I had a guy try to kill me. My whole life just crashed before my eyes. And I was like, what just happened? And I worked it out. And to make the long story short, I made 2 vows on that day. I realized that violence was getting in trouble. I got a black belt in karate when I was 16. I was state champion of full contact karate 6 times. I went to the Australian titles. Like, martial art was my life. I later moved to Japan, and I lived in Japan for a year and a half. I'll tell you that story later. But I realized violence was hurting me. And so I vowed never to lift my hands in violence again. And for 21 years, I never have. I've never been in a fight. There is still a violence inside me, that masculine fire that comes through me. And it's something that I'm constantly learning how to harness that fire so it doesn't burn the environment around me. But I've never lifted my hands in violence again. I'm very, very proud of about that. And the second vow I made is I realized, Larissa, and this is where it becomes interesting, backtracking over the several years, you know, the 2 years and even before that, I realized that I was doing what everyone else wanted me to do. They were guiding me to be happy. They were telling me if I study hard and I get good grades, then I'll be happy. If I go to mum and dad were all about going to university. I was the only one in my family that went to university. If you go to university, you get a good job, you make a lot of money, you know. Oh, you're in sales now, you're making 6 figures, you'll be happy. Sorry.
Don't we all went through that? I mean, my story, so it's like, because we living in the reality of constantly being indoctrinated in the right way, or the way that everyone is living, the standard way, or the way that external environment is created for us, and we all go through this suppression of our own genius, right? And of course, I don't really surprised that we all hold this anger. I mean, I have anger as well, but I'm dealing it with this differently and whatever. But of course, that's really is what we need to start to examine, and we need to start to really look at environment rather than what we expressing it from that indoctrination, right?
The key to me was, back then, I didn't know who I was. And so I was looking for external validation and guidance as to who I am to be. And that's, you know, we had a guidance counselor at school that was saying, great, you're enjoying science, you're getting good grades, why don't you go and study science? And I was like, okay. You know, and then at university, there's a guy who's older than me. He was probably 5 years older, and he's making money in sales. And he's like, man, you should come and do sales and make lots of money. I'm like, okay. You know, like I didn't know who I was. And so I'm just being corralled in this certain direction. And so me on top of that, literally, it's a crazy story, but on top of this mountain, breaking down like what just happened to my life. And I realized that I was doing what they wanted me to do, what my principal wanted me to do, the guidance counselor, my mom, my dad, my karate sensei, the society at large, make money, be happy, all of this stuff. And I realized I was absolutely miserable. And I said, well, what do I want? I want to be happy. That's all I want. I want to be happy. I don't know what happiness means, but I want to be happy, and I'm not happy. And I realized, as I said, following everyone else, that wasn't working. So I said, done. I am not going to do what anyone else wants me to do ever again. I'm going to do what I want to do. And I literally, that was a vow. That was a vow. I vowed never to lift my hands in violence again. And I never have. I've never hurt anybody physically since. My words sometimes hurt people. Let's be honest.
See, I want to really focus on that. This is really
sure.
important, because really a lot of people saying, well, how do you do that? Well, basically, you need to declare. You need to decide, number one, because there's so many people that not even deciding how they can actually progress and go with their lives and achieve what they want to achieve, what they want, not what anyone wants, but they not even making decision.
But we have to know who we are. And so the key is the vow, the decision. Exactly right. That starts any journey. As soon as you make a decision, the path will open up in front of you. So, right now, just to sort of give you an idea, because we have something in common, I'm in Russia. I live in Russia. My wife is Russian. We met living in Bali. I lived in Bali for about 4, nearly 5 years. Met my wife there. Fell in love, you know what it's like, moved to St. Petersburg. Our son was born there. He's now 4. We moved back to Australia for 2.5 years. And then 13 months ago, when it was getting crazy in Australia with lockdowns and all the tyranny, we said, let's go. We moved back to Russia. And now this is a little cabin on 3 acres of land in the middle of an eco village in the forest. It's a 300-person Anastasia eco village from the Anastasia books. If anyone knows the Ringing Cedars, Anastasia.
Absolutely. Look, I want to say that because a lot of people don't know. I mean, no one have idea. Like, Russia is so far away. It's like it's the country that we don't really know a lot about. What many people know only that it is, it's communism, it's a dictatorship, it's a terrorism. Wherever the Putin is there, it's like all of this crazy negative ideas about Russia. And here you are, you from Australia, you decided to really do something for meaningful for your heart, for your family, for the world, really. I mean, you're doing great job, because you are as a messenger of connecting these parts of the world together and explaining and helping people to understand. And also because you got yourself into your own unique genius of who you are. And you said back then, 20 years ago, 21 years ago, that you declaring, I'm not going to live anymore by anyone's anyone's definition of success, right? Like have your own definition of success. And yes, it's really exciting. Like, keep talking to us.
Yeah, for sure. So from there, I made that vow. I said, I'm going to be happy. And then I said, well, what does happiness mean? Who knows what happiness means, especially when you're 19 and you're in the middle of the greatest crisis of your life. And I said, well, you can see me as a 19-year-old going through this, right? Like, well, what if I did all of the things that I've ever wanted to do? Maybe that will make me happy, right? And I was like, yeah, I'm going to do that. So what do I want to do? And I'm on the top of this mountain. Like, what do I want to go rafting. I want to go scuba diving. I want to jump out of airplanes. I want to travel the world and meet all these amazing people. Like, I'm a young, testosterone-filled 19-year-old boy. I want to go. I want to do it. And so I came down from the mountain and went to sleep, woke up the next day, and I remember it clearly, walked down to the breakfast table, and standing up, I declared to my auntie and uncle, who never had kids. They were like my second mum and dad. And they were so very, very close. And I said, I'm going to be happy. And they're like, what? Yesterday you didn't look so happy. I'm like, I'm going to be happy. And I said, I'm going to travel the world. I'm going to jump out. I'm going to go rafting. I'm going to do all this stuff. And my uncle Bruce, like, why don't you sit down and have breakfast first? I was like, yeah, okay, good idea. So I had breakfast, and he said, look, a couple of months ago, I did a scuba diving course. I'll give you the card. Why don't you go and start with scuba diving? I was like, cool. So I had money in the bank. I paid to do a scuba diving course, and I absolutely fell in love with it. So I decided to become a dive instructor. It's what I felt like doing. So for the next 2 years, I was a dive instructor. I realized everyone in the world speaks 2 languages. I was tourists everywhere. A lot of Japanese back then in Cairns. Japanese economy was really strong back in the 90s and 2000s. And so I moved to Japan. I was like, I'm going to go and learn a second language. It's something with the brain. I got into meditation early. I went to my first personal development program a few months later at 20. There was a literally a sign, you know, like a brochure on a thing, and it's like, learn how to meditate and be happy. And I was like,
Oh my God,
I'm going to go
Scotty,
and be happy.
Scotty,
Yeah.
we have something in common here too, because when I had my, lived in corporate world, I had the family business exporting agricultural stuff, livestock to Russia and former Soviet Union countries. And it was like really demanding, very stressful job to manage this export import company, right? And I basically stretched myself so far that I couldn't really sleep at all, right? Yeah, just 2 hours a night, and that's it. And that was years and years of suffering. And then I just couldn't really find any solution to it. And then I was sitting in a somewhere waiting for my appointment. And it was a magazine open on a page where it was like meditation. And
Wow.
that vibration of that word meditation, it's like I tried meditation a few years ago, and it's really, I thought, well, that's not for me. I'm strong, successful woman. This is too slower activity for me. I just didn't really, it didn't connect. But then when I really needed, because I was at the tipping point, right? And that word meditation is easy, right? And it's like, oh yeah, I need to, it's like that vibrational words sometimes connect to us so strong, and that's the guidance, that's divine guidance. And what you describing here is exactly what I experienced back then. All right, go on.
Beautiful. My whole life has been divine guidance, and I've recognized that, and now I'm doing my best to just live in the signs and the guidance. But I'll finish this piece because it is interesting. So I went to this meditation course, and this guy, his name was Michael DeMacchio Rowland. He was my first spiritual teacher. He passed away last year, and he taught us how to do a 20-minute seated meditation, just focusing on the nose, breathing in and out. And he said, if you do this, there's a couple hundred people in the audience. He's on stage. I'm 20 at this stage, trying to figure myself out. And he's like, if you do this every day, you'll be happy. And I was like, right, I'm doing it. So I used to I'm that kind of guy. I set an alarm in the morning. We would go and party. We would scuba diving. We'd go and party till midnight, 2 a.m. And then I'd wake up, I'd meditate, I'd ride my bike down to the boats, and I'd go scuba diving, have fun with the tourists all day, party again, meditate in the morning. And every morning for years and years and years and years and years, I just kept meditating. But that really shifted things for me. So my story is very long. From there, I moved to Japan because I wanted to learn a second language, something to do with the brain. Everyone speaks 2 languages except for native English speakers. I want to learn another language. I already love Japanese people, Japanese culture, martial art. So I was like, cool, I'm moving to Japan. So I lived there. And again, I don't know how deep to go into this story, but over the years, I came back to Australia. I became a whitewater rafting guide. And sea kayaking guide. I moved to Hawaii. I did a 31-day circumnavigation of the big island of Hawaii. From there, I moved back to Australia, and then I moved back to Japan. Then I moved to California. From California, I moved back to Australia. Then I moved to Bali. Then I moved to India. Then I moved to Canada. Then I moved back to Australia. Then I moved back to Bali, then to Russia, then Australia. I've lived so many different places around the world. But the focus here, and why I'm just so fascinated that we've been drawn into this conversation, I learned to let go of having to have it all figured out. Because if I have a feeling and I see signs, it started with 1111. I kept seeing this number 1111 everywhere. I don't know what it was, ever since I was a kid. And then when I was in Japan, I started seeing 222 and 444 and 888, and then 1110 and 1112, and all of these numbers started speaking to me. And because of all my time in nature, like I spent years professionally through my 20s as an adventure guide, scuba diving, rafting, kayaking. Then, there's in between moments there. I was a hiking guide. I was a mountain biking guide. I became a rock climbing and abseiling instructor. Like I just spent a lot of time taking people into nature and guiding people on adventures and noticing just how much this nature, this matrix that we live in, is constantly talking to us through signs. And because I was going to be happy, my mind was not the place to be happy. At 21, I flew back to Brisbane. So I'd been meditating for about a year now. I was a dive instructor for probably about a year and a half. And I flew back to Brisbane to see my family. I hadn't seen them. My mum at this stage had started getting into the spiritual stuff because I was getting into it, and I was sharing with my mum. I read Autobiography of a Yogi, which is the first spiritual book, absolutely changed my life. Paramahansa Yogananda, whose ashram I've been to in California, another story. So I got mozzies in Russia at summertime. It's
Yes,
so
and
big.
they peak.
They're massive. They're freaking me out. And I've got
Yeah.
like moshi.
Well, oh,
The
you know what?
they're
You need
killer.
to if
They're
you
big.
have if you have mint, like a mint, just make a little branches of the mint and put it everywhere like around you,
Oh
like
yeah,
on a wall and somewhere. They're not like mint.
mint.
So
Thank you
yeah,
very much. I got mint in the garden. I'll go and hang some mint around. Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
it.
it's great. So this is what I come to experience is I was just going to follow my heart, and all I've done is followed my heart, and I've lived an adventure, Larissa. It has been an adventure. But so 21, I go down to Brisbane, and these are just interesting stories. But my mum went to a clairvoyant, and she said, "Oh, you got to go to this clairvoyant." And I was like, "What's a clairvoyant?" I'm 21, right? And back then, this 20 years ago, it wasn't that popular. Now it's a lot more popular. But back then it was a bit more hippie style. And so Mum said, "Oh, you go there, you pay her $50, and she does a reading. Takes about an hour. She'll tell you your future." And I was like, "Cool, I want to know my future." So it was on the sunny coast. I borrowed Mum's car and I drove the hour and a half or whatever it was to Noosa area. Paid my $50 for the reading. 7 hours later, I left this lady's house. She'd become a mentor of mine after that. She downloaded on me for 7 hours about life, how the whole reality worked. 11:11, I started crying. I was like, I've been seeing that since I was a kid. Spirit guides, angels, reincarnation, who we are. 7 hours, this lady who's like in her 50s by that stage, just downloaded on me. I'm driving home at midnight, driving back to Brisbane. The car runs out of fuel. Didn't even know that. Like, I was so entranced of what was going on. The car literally duck, 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 like, oh my God, I don't have any fuel. I pull off on the side of the highway. It was on an off ramp. Got to the off ramp and called my mum at midnight. She's like, call RACQ. The number's on the 13111, whatever it is. They'll bring you some fuel. I'm in a train. I call RACQ and I'm like, yeah, no problems. You'll need $10 for the fuel. I open my wallet. I'm like, there's one $10. Only one blue one looked at me, and I was like, yeah, okay, I got $10. It said, be about 45 minutes. I was like, all right, thank you so much. I get out, I sit down on the side of the road, looking over this field. I still drive past it every now and then. I look over this field and I like sit cross-legged like I would to meditate, and just like, wow, what a day, 7 hours. And then I felt this tingle, Larissa, on the base of my spine. And back then I didn't know what it was. And now I understand it. And I felt this wave of energy, like, whoa. And then I just sitting there, just had this, and for 45, say it'd be 45 minutes because the car came when I came out of it. But for 45 minutes, my head was locked back and I just had white light and bliss.
Wow, waves of energy. That's Kundalini energy from the base of the spine, because I guess all of this information that was downloaded into you, and you've been so receptive to it. Your soul really wants to have that. And from base of the spine, that Kundalini energy was really, it's basically was showing it. It's like, that's it. I'm here. This is it.
Yes,
you have to really
and I know that now, and I've done a lot of research, but back then I didn't know what any of this was. I just started. But you're 100% right. Who I am as soul, it's not my soul. I am soul. This is my body. This is my mind, but I am spirit. I am divine spirit, right? Coming through this experience. And when I read Autobiography of a Yogi, I knew that every word in that book was truth. And that was the first book to bring Hinduism and yoga to the West, by Paramahansa Yogananda. When I sat with Patricia Prophet, which is her name, but spelled Profit, like the money prophet. She always said, should be spelled the other way. But Patricia Prophet, 7 hours, I knew every word that she spoke was true. And I knew that. I could feel it inside me. When I would meditate, I knew that was more true than me running around doing what I was doing. And I was young. But that activation changed my life completely. I then went on a journey to figure out who am I? If that's who I am, because when I was in that white light and bliss, I knew that was who I was. And so from 21, I'm 41 now, for 20 years, my whole life has just been to live that experience again. But what I realized over the years is, as I'm surrendering, and I have done the craziest shit, people are just like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I have to do it. And they're like, you can't. Everything's great right now. Like, why are you leaving? Why are you packing up? Why are you closing this or doing that? I don't know why. I don't know. I cannot know. but I feel it. I just feel that this is what I have to do. And often it's like I'm going up and then I'm like, I have to go this way. I'm in a moment going through that right now. And then everything will crash and burn. And the mind will go, what are you doing? You're crazy. And then I'm like, I just have to trust this feeling. I just have to trust this feeling. And then things will turn around and I'll get like higher than I was before. And I'll look back and like, oh my God, that's why I had to do that. I couldn't know in the moment, but because I was courageous enough to trust my heart.
You know, about trust, that's what a lot of people don't know, how to trust themselves, right? And if they don't trust themselves, they don't trust anything or anyone. They basically live in that space of complete limit and fear. And of course, that's really is, it's almost like half dying, half living, really. I mean, to me, this is, I'm the same. It's exciting because I live kind of the same, in the same space of like, sometimes I just don't know what I'm doing. But I know this is the longing, this is the call for me. Like, for example, I dropped this very successful business because I had this dream. I need to buy a lot of land. I need to buy a lot of land. And why? Like everyone, like you saying, everyone is like, why? You have a business, you're managing, you have this role, position, you have all of this. Why do you need the land? I don't know why, but I need it. And then, of course, you know, again, it's like the mind put this own agenda. If I need a land, I need it, especially in that place, especially that look, especially that price. But it doesn't really work that way because it never happened when the mind construct its own picture of that, right? And I actually learned it hard way, because when I start to look exactly for what my mind pictured, I couldn't find it. I mean, it was frustration, I was angry at myself. And then one day I just decided, and I declared to myself, I said, okay, I'm not going to waste any more time of looking for that land. I'm not going to go for these inspections, or I'm just going to let it go, and I'm dropping this idea. But one half of me saying, well, but how that nagging, desire is always there. It's always saying to you, you have to have a land. And another part said, well, I have imagination. And I start to imagine that land. And sure enough, in a few years, it came itself to me exactly in the way I imagined it. Up to the details. That's it. That's how we need to trust and not force our own agendas.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's the scariest part, because we are guided since we were little children to live in our heads, because the mind, the head, can be manipulated with fear. Fear doesn't touch love.
That's it.
And we are love, and that is manifesting through our hearts. You know, we know that we've got this chakra system. I got really deep into yoga and Eastern philosophies on my journey. I've become a yoga instructor, not that I taught much, but just to learn more about who I am. And we teach about the chakra system. You know, spoke about Kundalini moving through the seven. There's seven, like the colors of the rainbow. You know, for those people that are new to it, there's 7 colors of the rainbow. Remember Roy G. Biv? Roy, orange, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. That's actually how the chakra system works. Red, orange, yellow, green. Green is the heart. Blue, indigo, violet. Now, Roy G, Biv, that G in the middle, that green, is the center. You've got 3 above and 3 below. And the heart is green. And what is nature? Look at your backyard and the trees behind you. Like, nature is green. We are nature. And yet what's happening is the center of what in Chinese philosophy we say Dantian.
Dantian, yes, Dantian. I know exactly, because I was studying at Barbara Brennan School of Healing for 4 years in America. So there's a lot more of the anatomy of all of these energetic bodies and our dimensions and all the chakra system. There's a little bit more about it. I know exactly what you're talking about. And amazing that young people start to really look at this. And I think that
because we know the truth of it. We know the truth of it. But for a lot of people, I don't know where your audience is at, but if we understand that we are being manipulated in our dantian through, that's our digestive system, right? That's where we're absorbing life. We're being manipulated. The food that we're drinking, the water that we're drinking, it's a manipulation. And then the other center is the third eye. You've got the one above, you've got the throat, and then here you've got the breathing one. You can't really see me. Then you've got your gut, and then you've got your base, which is like, you know, at the bottom. In the middle is the heart. But we're being manipulated here through media, through education, through information, through signals that are coming into the mind to disrupt that vibration. Our gut, we're being manipulated. We're not being taught that right here in the center of our being is actually a river of life that is moving through us from an unseen realm where we actually live. That is who we are. And we're manifesting through that river. We're taught you got to think about it. You're manipulated with your gut. Half of the people in the world now are getting cancer. 48% of people get cancer. It's ridiculous. Depression, anxiety, like we're being manipulated because we can be controlled. This river of love that is guiding us, that has guided me to sit in the middle of an eco village in a country that I feel is one of the most safe and protected countries right now. We have food, we have energy, and right now food and energy is going to be a massive issue across the world. It already is, but over the next few years, food and energy are going to really hurt a lot of people, unfortunately. Russia has plenty of it, and they have Putin at the helm and a big military. Whatever your thoughts are of what you believe is going on with Ukraine, is if it's from the mainstream media, you're being lied to, you're being manipulated. The same people that lied about COVID and all the control about COVID are lying about Russia and what's going on in Ukraine. So stop listening to everybody else and doing what they want you to do, which is the vow that I made, remember? And I beseech you to make the same vow and start to feel what is actually real for you.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah, I know. It's amazing. Like weeks and weeks and weeks I'm talking about like just get off the television of all of these lies and fake news that are actually not helping you to ground yourself and center. And when you're not center, how can you create the new world? You cannot even dream. You don't even have your own dream. To start to think about it and focus on that, so that you can actually help to create the new thing, the new world, better world, right? So
for sure.
So how about this eco village? How did you even how you and your wife just drop all of these big cities? And
I haven't done a big city in a long time, thankfully. We were in St. Petersburg for our son to be born. That's where my wife used to live. But I don't like cities. And I told my wife that when we met. I don't do cities. I'm a country kid. I want to be in the nature. I started working online 14 years ago in 2008 in the personal professional development space. That's my passion, coaching and helping people. So all I need is an internet connection. I'm literally sitting in a tiny home. You guys can go find me on Facebook. Likely there'll be links somewhere, Scotty Ze on Facebook, and I put a video up. I'm so happy out here. And we're starting to build our home now. Next week on Monday, the driveway goes in. It's a 100-meter driveway, and it's a big bit of land. And then the foundation the week after that. So I'm happy to be out here, doing my thing.
By the way, I can make a banner that will go underneath where people can find you.
Yeah. Look, probably the easiest way is, rather than Facebook directly, is if you just head to tribesunited.org. That is the mission that I'm on and the movement that I'm doing my best to guide. Tribesunited.com. Organization. Yeah, it's a not-for-profit. It's not for money.
So it's org, right?
Org, yeah, tribesunited.org. If you go over there, that'll redirect you to one of my groups, whether it's Telegram or Facebook, where you can find out more about the Tribes United and Permacare, which is the mission that I'm on. So it's something that I've been involved in for a very long time. Most people know about permaculture, which is permanent agriculture. It's growing food. It started in Australia. Now it's worldwide. And that's a big part of it, growing food. But to me, it's more than food. It's about growing each other. And permacare is about, yes, we must grow food, but we also must grow humans.
Is that correct?
Yeah, that's spot on. So people go there, tribesunited.org. You guys can come and find out more about what we're doing. So the vision, though, is permacare. So I've always wanted to live in an eco-village. And I've spent a lot of time living with intentional communities and spent a long time in Bali, Hawaii, California, Thailand. There's a lot of places, India, a lot of places where there are great communities. But there was always something missing for me. And the piece was, that's where Tribes United comes in. I realized very early that we're not at an age of individualized enlightenment, meaning we're not at this time in our evolution meant to be sitting in a cave and meditating for 8 hours a day and fasting and all this to reach enlightenment. That can be a part of it. And I've done a lot of that. But we are today in a collective enlightenment. I imagine human beings to be like neurons, which are the cells of the brain. And neurons are only good when they fire together, when they fire electricity between each other. That's where you create connections between the neurons, and those connections then send information between each other. And the more connections you have, the more light there is moving through the neurons or the neural pathways, the more intelligent you are, the more ideas you have, the more wise you are. So right now, we are the neurons of the human experience, and we have to wire.
Absolutely. Yeah, we are modern mystics, right? We don't need to go and isolate ourselves to get, into enlightenment or into all of this connection with our spiritual selves, right? It was 50 years ago, 30 years ago, maybe even 20 years ago.
Hundreds of years ago, hundreds of years ago, that was the go. But now we're moving into a place where we have to come together. We have to help each other. And we have to help each other because personally, I want to reach enlightenment, which is the ultimate state of happiness. That's that white light and bliss. But it's me being white light and bliss in this moment and fully accepting everything that's happening, good, bad, or otherwise, right? And being so present and in love with this moment that is my everyday experience. Am I living that? Absolutely not. I want to be living that. I have glimpses of that. And my life is evolving in that direction. But what I realize is we have to do this together. Because we're cells in an organism, if your hand has cancer, the rest of your body is suffering.
That's it.
And if part of our tribes here are suffering, then others are suffering too. So for me to live that enlightenment, I have to unite with other people, neurons, not everybody. I don't need, the 7 billion people, not that there is, I believe that's a lie. They're making numbers up to make us feel bad that we're consuming all the resources.
Sure, we now know that everything that they tell, we need to check it out because really.
If they tell me, I'm like, okay, it's probably the opposite. The climate agenda is about control. It's not about saving the environment. The environment is so steady in herself that we are not affecting it in the way that we're being told. We're being lied to. So anyway, what we need to do is come together. And that's where the Tribes United came in for me. But I started to partner up with these big leaders out there, household names that people would know. I'm a very good networker and I'm very good at what I do. So people invite me into conversations. I can add value. They bring me into their movements. But I've left these movements. I've left these movements because of the ego of the leaders. And it was ego that was constantly getting in the way. And I realized inside of me, Larissa, that I had ego as well that was stopping me from fully connecting with people and connecting with life. And that I was in some way different or special. Or like you said, my mind had to make it the way that it believed it should be. Rather than just surrendering and coming through that heart space and living the river of love, I was constantly trying to control things. And they were too. And although they would get on stage and lead movements and speak and have all of this influence, they were ego driven, not love driven. And I would walk away, and I realized I have to do the work on myself to move past ego. And plant medicines like ayahuasca has absolutely helped me. More meditation has absolutely helped me. Simplifying my life has absolutely helped me. But most importantly, I've surrendered to being a servant of other people. I always say to my students, I teach a program called Integral Mentor. It's about helping people to become the person that can lead other people. First, you lead yourself and then you lead other people. All right. But in that, it's very much about being a servant leader, because when you help other people get what they want, you get what you need. But everyone's brainwashed to believe that I've got to do what's in it for me.
Absolutely. It's the other way around, because really, I mean, we have to first, of course, connect with ourselves. Like you said, we need to find that place, that path longing, allow this guidance to guide us. And of course, we need to take lead in our own life, becomes self leaders first, because if we don't get leaders ourselves, well, then we assume someone else will lead our life. And
Which is
this
what
is
they want. That's what
it.
they want. They're controlling us so that we believe that we are so weak that we need to be led by a higher master. And that is not true. There is one master in your life, and it is you, as you are divine spirit. You are a drop of the eternal, right? We are divine spirit. And that guidance through us is our unique resonance, our unique vibration, our unique experience in this realm. And we are here to have that experience. And so let us lead our freedom. I'm about to release a program called Lead Your Freedom, which is helping people beyond because I work a lot with professional people to help the leaders, the coaches, therapists, and healers of our world be able to become that person to serve more people, right? So it's marketing, there's sales. Again, I've always been very good at that, but a lot of it's self-belief and self-identity. Who am I? Am I a leader? So next version is, what about all of the people that need to speak their freedom, that need to lead their freedom, that need to stand in their own power? This is really important, because as more of us step in to be the leaders of our own life, that's neurons firing together. That's more of us vibrating this energy of personal empowerment beyond ego, because a lot of the ego-driven Tony Robbins stuff is still ego, right? I've done a lot of Tony Robbins work, and I really admire what the man's done, but it's still a lot of like drive, push, crush, kill, and destroy. I'm saying there's not, the happiness is not involved in that. You can make more money that way. You can manipulate reality in that way. But unless you're letting the life be, like a mix between what the spiritual yogis have been saying and with our modern day reality, following that, trusting the heart, it always works out. Life always works out. So,
well, you experience that. I experience that. That's how you live. I live like that. I'm also running programs and digital workshops and live trainings and things. And of course, you see, we kind of we learned our own way. We did mistakes, and we learned through our mistakes. But in the future, what I believe is that all of these ego-oriented businesses and ego-oriented leaders, they will be behind, because the connection with people happening from that place of the heart, and ego that has nothing to do with that. And this is really where we need to start to understand that there's no place for competition.
Yes, exactly.
Because we're all unique, we have our own genius, and everyone can create from that place, and there's no place for competition. That's really is how I envisage that.
And that's how humans got here today. I mean, you look at tribes, original tribes. We all had our place within the tribe. Some were better at hunting, some were better at gathering, some were better at taking care of the kids, but everyone sat in a circle around a central fire as equals. That's how, through collaboration, we were able to live the life that we're here to live. Competition is not real. No, it's not real. We don't have to compete against each other. We have to be our unique vibration and attract those that want to work with us in terms of the leadership and live our life in freedom. We're resonating the same vibration there.
Exactly. Absolutely. Exactly. That's the ultimate truth that everyone needs to come and realize. And again, everyone has its own pace and its own understanding, and okay, it's okay, but that self-leading piece needs to be really kind of understood quickly. We don't really have enough time. We need to start to unite much more quicker, and we need to start to dream about the new reality. That's what I really,
And that reality to me is permacare and the Tribes United. So if we can grow food and grow each other in community, that's permacare. So whether you're an urban community that has got little backyard gardens and maybe a cafe that you connect in once a week or whatever it is, or you're a suburban community, or you're a remote community, or like we are, a rural community where we're way out in the sticks living together, however you got to do it, you've got to have people around you that are growing together, vibrating off each other, right? That's permacare. And grow food. Food is going to be very important. And that relationship, that green heart with the green of nature, that relationship is very, very important for us. And then Tribes United, your tribe, my tribe, her tribe, his tribe. If you're going to throw a party Larissa and everyone listening, if you're going to throw a party, wouldn't you say to your besties, hey, like, you invite 10 of your friends, you invite 10 of your friends, you invite 10, and we're going to have a party, right? That's the Tribe United. You bring all of your tribes, your people, keep your identity, but let's do it together. And there will be some overlap. Some of your people are going to love what you do, and some of her people are going to love what he does. So there's going to be overlap, which strengthens the bonds. Right, that's how we actually connect. So some people, oh, you got to listen, these guys are great, oh, I love him and her, and we have overlap, but there's more abundance for everybody.
Absolutely.
And you think of it in business, like we do these multi-speaker events, and you invite your people and I'll invite mine. Like a summit online is more what people would be used to now. Before COVID, it was everyone would go somewhere. Now, but you got 10 speakers who all advertise it, and they all come together. And then some of their people buy off them or want to learn off them or them, right? That's how it works in life.
Yeah.
So in this awakening movement, why don't we do the same? Drop the ego, do the work to become integral, to come back into who we really are, in integrity of who we are, then grow food and grow each other and come together and share resources and experiences and wisdom and knowledge across the world. And let's just be the phoenix rising from the ashes. Allow this chaos to collapse around us, because it's inevitably dying. That's why they're trying to hold on and do everything they can to control us. And all of those people that are brainwashed and want to be in that, let them be. I'm not going to try and help wake you up as a martyr. I'm not Jesus Christ. I'm Scotty Z. I'm doing my thing. And all of the people that resonate with what we're doing, let's come together across the planet, help each other to grow, and do it in harmony. That's the future for me.
Absolutely. And this is really is inspiring. And this is every day I wake up and I spend some time dreaming about it, visualizing it, because I'm a manifester as well. I manifested my 89 acres of land just like that. And I'm manifesting all other stuff in my life. And that's really the power of who we are. We all can make this world absolute, amazing, abundant place with all of this love and kindness and compassion. And we don't need to even worry about limit of food or deficit of some sort, because when we really work that inner space, that's it, that's the inner space that will be abundant.
Yes.
Well, then the outer will be abundant.
It flows from outside and manifests in front of us. We only get who we are, not what we want, who we are, which is why identity is so important. It's all about who we see ourselves as, right? And for those that are worried about, like, oh, I've got to become some hippie and live in a cabin, like, guys, I live a very good life. I'm a multiple six-figure earner on the internet. I do very well financially. I'm here in this little cabin because it was on the land while we build our beautiful home, right? So you don't have to be, and I'm starting to grow my hair long again because I want to feel that energy, but it's not about being a hippie and living some, feral life. That's not who I am, certainly not who my wife is. It's about living who your identity is and your truth. You don't have to change necessarily the way that you live. Change you, and the way that you live will change.
Inside, absolutely. It starts from inside. And what the confusion, I think, in people in a lot of cases is that we perceive, or you and I, we perceive differently already, but like in the past, maybe even me, like I perceived spirituality and physical existence, two different things. And to get into spirituality, I need to kind of give up of, some pleasures or whatever it is. It's a complete lie. It's a complete error to think like that, because spirituality, physicality, psychology, emotional stuff, it's all one and the same. It's integrated system. It's called energy consciousness system. And that's where we can then gather all these pieces together and have that wholeness that then can create from that wholeness plate of the wholeness of your stuff that you want to create, right? So
and what needs to come through us, I think that's really important to recognize, is there is a flow, there is a river moving through us. And there's a Hopi elder in 2001. He made a speech, which I can send you the link. It's, if you just Google search Hopi elder speaks, Hopi elder speaks. I think it's community.info. You'll see this, the first one that comes up. Read this man's speech. I carried it with me for 15 years. I've still got the bit of paper. And everywhere I went, I put it on the wall. And it was with me everywhere I went around the world. I put it on the wall. And effectively, it talks about there is a river now flowing very fast. And there will be those who are afraid and will try to hold on to the shore. They will be torn apart and suffer greatly. You know, what is the shore? The shore is the known. The unknown is to be in the flow and see where the river takes us. And he says, know that the river has its destination. Let go of the shore, push off in the middle, keep your head above water, grow food, make sure you take care of yourself, see who is there with you and celebrate.
Yeah, it's like this primary wealth. So it's like people talking about wealth. Of course, you know, everyone wants to earn money, have money, and the wealth just in a not so distant past was wealthy people would have properties, they will have cars, they will have all of these symbols of the wealth. But really, right now, the wealth is good quality water, land, growing vegetables, fruits, and have your health. This is the wealth, right? Nothing else is really matters.
It's very true. And especially over the next 20 years, like the next 20 years, it's going to really, as the financial system is grinding now to a halt, we're already in a recession. They're just not going to share that information very fast because people will stop spending and they're trying to keep the credit rolling. We're already in a recession. A massive depression is coming, bigger than the Great Depression. Like it's going to get very tough for people. We've got a few years. I'd say you got 2-3 years to make bacon, make money, and invest it into assets. Like you just said, get land, get some machinery, cars, whatever, grow food, do it in community, help each other. That's really what I see is coming over the next few years. But doing it from a place of surrender and love. This is what we are designed to live. Don't do it out of fear. Do it out of love. Do it out of, this is the future for me and my family. This makes us more happy, right? It absolutely makes us more happy.
Well, normally every time I have a special guest on my show, I ask at the end, I ask to give like 3 tips or 3 recommendations or 3 points that you really would like people to pay attention to and really maybe implement in their lives that they can help them to be prepared. You already named it all. I mean, you know, but maybe just
clarify for people. Yeah, for sure. That's a great question. The number one thing is, you said it before, about trusting yourself and trusting the guidance within. The best thing that I can say to people, just follow your heart in the smallest little things is where it starts. Follow your heart in the smallest little things. So if you're like, you just have this like feeling that you've got to go somewhere, you've got to do something, or you've got to stop something, even if your mind is like, man, what are you talking about? That's crazy. Stupid. Just be like, I'm going to trust the feeling and I'm going to go and notice what happens. I met my wife because of exactly this. I trusted my heart. I got on my motorbike. I drove down to the local cafe. I opened my laptop. I looked at the girl next to me and said, is your internet working? And she said, not really. Boom, 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 boom. 5 hours later, we left the cafe together. And now she's my wife and mother of my child, right? Because so in the little things, like, oh, I'm working from home. Why do I need to go to the cafe? Just go to the cafe, Scotty. All right, go to the cafe, shut the laptop and go. My life changes forever.
I know.
So number one is trust your heart. The little things will lead to the big things. I'm not saying pack up and move across the world. I'm saying the one little thing and then it stacks. Success stacks on itself. So that's number one. Now let's talk about more tangible things. I've got 2 more. Right now is the time to capitalize on the economy. Make money. If you are locally following Larissa, you're someone that gets it. You already know what's going on, right? If you're hearing my words here, if you follow me, same thing, right? You know what's going on. You got to step up. You've got to be the leader of your own life now. Learn how to increase your income right now in a way that resonates with you. What obviously we focus on is around coaching. Mine's coaching, therapy, and healing. Sounds like yours is coaching and online business.
Mine is mentoring and healing because I'm a vibrational medicine therapist and healer.
Fantastic. Yeah, cool. So we're serving the same people, which is beautiful. So do that. Find a way that you can make more money and do it in a way from your laptop where you can sort of like pull out of the system a little bit because it's going to get crazy in there. and increase your money. Look, if you are working a job already, take more hours if you can. Start a side hustle with some network marketing business. If you're not a leader in the way that we're talking, find a way to make more money and save that money and invest it. Get out of debt as much as you can, especially on the things that they can take away from you, like your cars and your property. Get out of debt. Okay. We here are completely debt free. I don't know, nobody, nothing. I'm building my house in cash, which is an interesting thing right now because prices in Russia went up 30, 50, 100%. Some things have doubled because of the sanctions against us. So the build of our house, the money we had to build our house is not enough right now. So I need to now increase my income over the next 3 to 5 months. Like I need to double my normal income. I usually make around that 20,000 a month. Now I've got to go to 40 to 50,000 a month in the next 3 months. So that identity shift for me, and this is what I'm saying to you guys, everything is possible in how we see ourselves, right? I'm making sure that I will be outright here owned and nobody can take it away from me. And I've got 2 years. My goal is to set up this property in the next 2 years to be self-sustainable, right? Whatever you need to do, figure it out, earn more money, believe in yourself, follow your heart, and go for it. And then the third is invest, as I said, in getting off grid. Build community. Whether you're still in the city, try to get out of the city, at least get in the suburbs, not in the heart of the city, but find people around you that are just like you. It starts online. That's where everyone's hanging out. And then I say virtual coffee dates, start meeting people online, and then say, hey, you drive half an hour, I'll drive half an hour, I'll meet you in the middle. Let's build relationships. Let's help each other. Because those relationships is what a tribe is all about. That's what is the strength of a tribe, is the relationships, the trust within each other. Start building those relationships now online and in your local area, because they will count dividends when things are getting tough, because they will.
Right. Well, that was really interesting conversation. I think there's more stories, and I'm kind of excited to maybe get again together and continue to share your stories, my stories, and really inspire other people, because that's really what it is about, to get together and help others. We can lift others if they're confused. We can help to heal some traumas and wounds or whatever is there. And thank you so much of accepting my invitation to be my special guest. You are really special for me and for all the listeners and followers. So thank you so much. And I would like to say thank you to all the supporters. And I will come back next Wednesday at 2 p.m. South Australian time. And I love you all. Love yourselves, guys.
Благодарю.
Yes, спасибо. That's the Russian.